What's up, y'all? Today we're going to be talking about a fintech company called Novo, which is offering free small business checking accounts. So if you're someone who's looking to start an online business, or maybe you already have an online business, then you won't want to miss this video. Now, first, I do want to jump into explaining a little bit why I think that having a business bank account is important. Now, if you don't have a business checking account where you're having all your, your sales revenue deposited, or you're paying for your expenses out of that account, it just makes things a lot more complicated, especially for accounting reasons, right? Whether you're doing things like taxes, right? Or even just basic accounting to get an idea of how much your profit was for a certain month, it's gonna be a lot easier if you're running it through an account that's dedicated to your business. I've heard of a lot of people starting off, and even I started off a little bit like this in the beginning, using my personal accounts to pretty much run my business. But you gotta realize that once you see that you're starting to make money, you always want to pivot it into a business account of its own, right? And really nowadays, especially the way the pricing is for business checking accounts, it doesn't even make sense to not just pivot it from the beginning. And you're going to see that with Novo. Now, when it comes to the requirements for Novo, to be eligible for a business checking account, you're going to need to be at least 18 years old. You're going to have to be a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident. And you have to have a US based business, okay? So if you have a business overseas, this, Novo is not gonna work for you, okay? Now, I do wanna use a caveat that sole proprietorships will work as well, okay? So if you are a business owner, who has a social security number, and that's kind of where you're running your business through, you're just, you're running your business as yourself, and you have a US address as well as a US phone number, you can still apply for Novo business checking accounts and be able to get approved. Now, typically when it comes to the approval, you're gonna see that it'll come within, let's say, 3 days, but it could come a lot faster. I think for me, it took about 1 business day. Now, I did go ahead and write down a few stats that I thought would be something that you guys would find a lot interesting. One, again, I do wanna mention off the bat that any money that you put into your account is FDIC insured up to I believe it's the 250,000. The deposits are insured through its partner bank, Novo's partner bank, which they use Middlesex Federal Savings, okay? You can see a little bit more about that on their website, which I'm gonna link to down below. Now, they don't charge any monthly fees. You don't earn any type of APY, so you're not really earning anything when it comes to, it's not like a savings account, if you will, right? But I think when you're running a business, at least for where I am currently in my, in my entrepreneurial journey, I don't care as much about how much money I'm saving on the funds that I'm using or leaving in my account, because I'm typically trying to rotate the funds, or I'm trying to turn over the money as fast as possible. So I'm not really leaving large amounts of money in my bank account to begin with. Now, they do allow as well unlimited transactions. Another thing is they do have a minimum opening deposit requirement. You have to deposit at least $50 to open the account. But once you deposit the $50, there's really no minimum past that. You're kind of free to do whatever you want. But I do think $50 is pretty fair. It's a reasonable amount in terms of how much you're expected to put in. You're typically going to see with other banks that it could be up in the thousands, right? So I think this is quite reasonable, especially compared to the bigger banks. Now, in terms of what some of the top features are, they will have, again, no monthly fees, no real minimum balance requirements. You're able to use that money once you put it into the account. It's really just to open the account. You don't pay any fees for incoming wires. Really, there's no types of fees that you're paying apart from things like if you do, insufficient funds, then you're going to get charged a $27 fee, things like that. Now, I do have here what their card looks like. I'm not sure if you're able to see it here. Now, keep in mind, this is the actual, I got this card just before they did a rebranding. So your card may be a little bit similar to this, but the logo will more likely be different. They've upgraded their logo, which you'll see on their website, but you could expect to see a card similar to this, okay? Now, what I love about it is that, you pretty much have free ATM access, and you don't really get charged any fees, which is a plus, right? Any fees that you might get charged by the other bank, they will reimburse you. Okay, so if you don't see the reimbursement done, you can always just reach out to them and get that corrected, especially if you're using international ATMs and things like that. So that was a huge plus for me, especially when I'm moving around and I'm traveling. As you can see right now, I'm not in my usual location. I'm actually in Lomé, Togo. So, that was another reason, I carry this card just in case. I'm not really taking money out of my business accounts, but if it's a situation where I need to pay for something for the business, then I have this card just in case. Funny enough, the airlines actually lost one of my luggage. and then we're able to find it. It had all my camera gear in it. That's why I'm shooting off of my phone. But I was glad I had this card just in case, because I was able to find some people that I might potentially be using for some of my other videos where they'll let me rent out the equipment. But they don't, here it's a little difficult to find people taking card all the time. They'll typically want to be paid in cash. So I can always pull the cash out using my Novo bank card and then be able to pay them and get access to the gear. Okay, so that might be something that I potentially do down the road. Now you'll see that they'll have your typical, online and mobile banking. You'll be able to do features like deposit checks, typical mobile banking, sending money, mailing paper checks if you got to make payments, things like that. They also have a Novo Reserves section where you can actually, it's pretty much like a budgeting tool where you're able to allocate a portion of the money that you have in your account for something specific, whether it's to pay your taxes, or maybe you're saving up to make a big purchase for your business. You can keep shifting money over into that Novo Reserves, where it kind of takes it out of your main balance and it kind of holds it off to the side. So that's a feature that I thought that was pretty dope. On top of that, they do have integration with some business tools, so you can actually link it directly to QuickBooks, which I found great. I'm actually probably going to be shooting a video on QuickBooks because that's the accounting software I'm currently using, but they do Xero as well. You can, integrate directly with Stripe if that's what you're using as your payment processor. Shopify, if you're using that as your e-commerce platform. They use Wise. They use Zapier as well. So you got a ton of different options. Those are just to name a few. Also, they do give you discounts on some software and services that more than likely you'll end up using, especially if you're running an online business. One of the big ones for me was $20,000 in fee-free, credit card processing. So you can process $20,000 through Stripe, and you won't pay any fees on that first 20K. Okay, so I thought that was huge. Of course, they have partnerships with QuickBooks, they have Gusto, Google, HubSpot, some other companies, as well as they give you $150 in Snapchat ad credits. Okay, so that's another win. Now, in terms of the negatives, I will say one big negative for me was that not being able to deposit cash. Now, I'm typically not moving around and carrying cash like that, but I did think that it makes it a little bit more difficult if you are running any sort of business where you're heavily relying on cash. That's why I make sure to mention that, this is for more so if you're running an online business or a business where you take your payments online, right? Now, if you are in a situation where you have cash, you need to deposit it into the account, you'll have to get a money order, then deposit it with the mobile check deposit feature. Okay, so it adds a couple hurdles to go through. That's one of the reasons why I typically have more than one bank account, and I have a bank account at least with one of those brick and mortar banks, right? One of the more bigger, more popular banks. And this is the reason is this, right? If I ever come into a situation where I need to deposit cash, I can deposit it into my brick and mortar bank and then have it transferred into Novo, if the case may be. But typically, most of my transactions are done online, so that's not really a situation for me. Now, another thing is you won't be earning any type of interest, okay? And what I mean by that is, normally like if you have a savings account or something, you're earning a small percent of interest every month or every year, whatever the case may be. That's not gonna happen with Novo. They don't, you won't earn any interest on your cash. But to me, that wasn't a big, it wasn't that big of a negative for me because I don't intend to be really, earning interest like that, right? It's not a large factor in my decision, especially considering the low rates currently that we have, especially in the US, right? So to me, it wasn't something to worry about. I never really look at that interest anyways. It's typically a minuscule amount unless you have large amounts of cash, right? Millions of dollars, maybe it makes a sense, but I typically don't worry too much about it, okay? Now, another negative, or the last negative I saw, was that they're not really offering any other products. I wish that they started offering things like business loans and maybe business credit cards. Now, it's possible that they'll do it in the future, but currently, I wish it was a situation where they would see how much you're doing in terms of transactions, kind of like you're seeing the other fintech companies, right? They see that how your transactions are, and they decide, hey, let me offer this person a business loan to help their business go faster. Or let's give this person access to a business credit card because we see the kind of revenues or the kind of income that they have, money coming in and expenses and things like that. So that might be something to look forward to in the future. Now, in terms of who I think this is best for, I really think that this is best for companies that, they want to have free business checking account with no sort of minimum balance requirement, right? Now that you do have the minimum opening balance, but in terms of how much money you're keeping month to month, they don't have a minimum. This is great for someone who, they want to be able to use any ATM anywhere, right? Internationally or in the US without having to worry about fees. Anyone who doesn't plan on having to deposit cash plan on needing to deposit cash on a regular basis. Okay, so if you fit in one of those categories, then I think this is going to be a great bank for you. Definitely something that you want to check out. Now, if you're interested in learning more about the fundamentals that you need when you're creating your business, check out this video that I shot here. That's going to pretty much break down different things and essentials that you need to have for anyone who's starting a business to be able to build more legitimacy for your business. Okay, I'll also be including some of our top partners to be able to give you access to those guys to help you get those tasks completed as fast as possible. These are things like having a professional email, having a good phone number, building a website, things like that. Okay, you can have access to all that information on this video here. Alrighty, so that's gonna be it for this video, guys. I appreciate you watching. Be sure to hit the subscribe button down below, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace.